these little guys are
getting used to being with people.
Yeah.
And much easier to handle. Already they're quite quiet, aren't they?
Yeah, they are not very responsive.
Yeah.
He's quite happy.
Yeah, beautiful. So this little setup here that we've got has got the rabbit cages on the right hand side in here, and these rabbits are living mainly on Tegasasti, but also right now lots of magenta spreen or lamb's quarters, and lots of wild weeds and herbs and things. Tegasasti is really a complete food for rabbits, so the byproduct of the Tegasasti is that we end up with loads and loads of Tegasasti branches, because they eat the leaves and the bark, and that leaves all these sticks. So we're putting on a weekly basis, we're putting all these sticks and other carbonaceous material, like, what have we got here, Sarah? Is that corn stalks?
And we're going to put the magenta
spreen stalks. We're going to put them, oh yes, we've got them here sitting in a pile. Waiting to go through the chipper, and when they go through the chipper it becomes carbon for the chicken compost,
which is in here.
And the chickens are down here just past the rabbits. So these are our urban garden chickens. These are leg bars, and they're just finishing molting. They're just starting to get their feathers again, and they are very lucky chickens. They've got an amazing compost heap underneath them, which is based on all the carbon from the rabbit food and their own manure, plus they get comfrey every day and greens, and right now they've got sunflowers and they get all kinds of leftover stuff from the garden. They've got a diatomaceous earth bath, they've got their water, and they've got a grandpa's feeder here to stop the birds and rats getting into any of their food. And so we're recycling all our carbon through the chicken compost, and then from here the compost goes into the garden and to the wicking beds and to pot up fruit trees and things from this urban garden. So these are our happy chickens. The rooster. Cool. We'll just wander around the back and have a look at the other animal system.
Okay, this is the guinea pig enclosure. At the moment we have an additional rabbit, because baby rabbits escape from cages apparently. So I'll just stick these little guys back in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 2 hutches, one for each different line of guinea pigs, and at the moment we have boys in here, breeding girls up here, so those are for eating, those boys, and breeding boars up the top.
I'll come closer so you can see how amazing it is in there.
Just cleaned it out the other day.
So they've got, tell me what all that is. Is it bedding or food, or?
It's a combination of bedding and food. They've got the leftover beans from the harvested beanstalks. The beans are a bit old, so we just chucked all of that in there, and we've just fed in some clover and grass today. And they've still got leftover corn that they're still munching on readily, so they'll eat that eventually. And
so what is the system? You're adding, you clean them out on a regular basis, and then you just add more than they can eat, so that it becomes a very deep layer of bedding, which then absorbs the urine and the manure and makes it exciting for them to live in. They like it, don't they? They make
little tunnels, and they jump on top of it. And
I can't even see the guinea pigs. There's so much. Many places for them to hide.
Well, up here we've got all that.
My goodness.
Yeah, you can't find a guinea pig in there.
So they just love it, don't they? They make tunnels into it and they burrow into it. And so this guinea pig tenement building is set up to have two different lines of breeding males and females, isn't it?
Yes.
So that you should be able to eventually, when we get the system running at its maximum capacity, when the rabbits aren't in there, we ought to be able to produce, I think, 1 to 2 guinea pigs a week for the table. And from this urban garden, we when things are running at their potential, we'll be having 1 to 2 rabbits a week for the kitchen, and half a dozen eggs a day, and a couple of guinea pigs a week for the kitchen as well. Who's that?
This is one of the breeding boars. He's
hello, mister.
He's quite big, as you can see.
Yep.
Yeah. So he'll be...
We're selecting partly for size, aren't we?
Yeah, so we want the bigger ones because they have
Yeah.
more to eat on them. Yes. But he's quite a friendly chap. Yeah.
Cool. So this Kushla, one of our past urban garden apprentices, designed and built this house here, and it's just working really, really well. It's working beautifully. The idea is that the manure from under the rabbits and all the manure and waste from the guinea pig condominium all goes into a soldier fly farm, which feeds the chickens with soldier fly larvae. Thanks, Sarah.
Welcome. Thank you.
So this is about the 16th of March, and our urban garden is in the process of shifting from the summer crops to the winter crops, and the summer crops have come out yesterday and the winter crops are going in today. Seedlings have all been grown in the urban garden passive solar cloche, and here we have a bed of heavy feeders. So I can see red cabbages and kale and purple mustard and broccoli, and there's a gap at each end, so I imagine there's something else going in there. And this next bed is for roots and legumes. Carrot seed will be going in, and daikon and beetroots and turnips. And then the last two beds are going to be, one bed is already planted in beetroot and the next bed will be in lettuce, and these are going to be crops for sale. So we're going to show how in a 40 square metre garden, urban garden situation, we can grow a lot of roots. We can grow a lot of food for the kitchen as well as have 20 square metres of crops for sale. And instead of growing carbon crops in here, we're using the carbon that is left over from the rabbit food, composting it through the chickens to produce the compost for this garden instead of growing carbon crops, which is a really appropriate strategy in some situations. So we're still in the urban garden on the 16th of March. This is, it's 2 years after this garden was fully planted, maybe 2.5. We have hazelnuts here, which produced several hundred nuts this year, and they're only very young. We have a grapevine growing over the top of that trellis there that's had a lot of grapes on it, and below are apples, cordoned apples, which have had their first apples this year. On the end of that we have an arguta vine, which you can probably only just see, almost hidden by the grapes, which had its first fruit this year. Underneath is copious comfrey, which is being used to feed the chickens and the rabbits. And on around from there, in the background we have an olive tree just peeking up with its first olives on it. And the whole fence all the way around behind there is becoming covered in things like figs and espaliered pears. There's also Worcesterberries and raspberries and boysenberries, and then which are still growing and haven't covered the fence yet. And there we have apple trees, and there are cordon espaliered apples all along that front fence. And then here in the corner we have this amazing mandarin tree, which last winter produced $1,000 worth of mandarins at the normal supermarket price. And along this fence here we have gooseberries and currants, lots of comfrey. Down past the hazelnuts through to the big lemon, which also, oh, you can't even see it now. The hazelnuts and the grapes and everything are growing so fast. The lemon tree is in behind there, and that also produced $1,000 worth of fruit last winter. So you can see that the forest garden is starting to take off in this urban garden, which is only 2 to 2.5 years old.